To see her contempt and right next to her, Rashida Tlaib, another person with an immigrant background. Look, Ilhan Omar has some legal issues regarding her citizenship. I'll just leave it at that. I think that they've been well covered in the press, but it's shameful. And
yeah, that was an interesting answer. Could you elucidate at all for us on these citizenship issues for Ilhan Omar? Will we ever see anything on that? I will tell you that I was very
anything, but
sure.
I think it's been well covered, and I covered it certainly myself before I joined the DOJ. That certainly it's a truism of immigration law that if you commit fraud in the course of obtaining your citizenship, if you lie about being that you weren't a Nazi, guard at a concentration camp, you can be denaturalized. If you lie about your marriage status on which your citizenship depends, or your familial status, or what have you, if you fake any of those documents or you lie, that's a grounds for denaturalization. And so I think it's been credibly alleged that there are serious questions about the circumstances of the paperwork around that naturalization. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not working on that issue. That's not part of what the Civil Rights Division does.
Ilhan Omar, sitting U.S. Congresswoman, is facing a federal denaturalization case. And if the DOJ moves forward, she could lose her citizenship and her seat. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dhillon just went on record saying it's been credibly alleged that there are serious questions around the paperwork tied to Omar's naturalization. And she named marriage fraud as a legitimate legal trigger. Under federal law, lying on citizenship documents is grounds for full denaturalization. No exceptions, no pass because of a title. Look, this isn't gossip. A named DOJ official confirmed this publicly. That matters to every taxpayer who funds a congressional salary for someone whose legal status is now in serious question. If fraud was committed to obtain citizenship, the law says you're not entitled to the benefit, period. So here's what nobody is asking out loud yet. If this moves forward, what happens to every vote she cast? Ilhan Omar is a sitting U.S. Congresswoman from Minnesota. She came to America as a refugee from Somalia. She was granted citizenship. She built a political career. And now the Department of Justice is reportedly investigating whether that citizenship was ever legally earned in the first place. The core accusation is this. Prosecutors allege she may have committed marriage fraud, using a fake marriage to help someone gain entry into the United States. On top of that, there are questions about whether her own father was honest about his past when he applied for citizenship, a past that allegedly includes participation in one of the worst atrocities in Somali history. Under U.S. law, citizenship obtained through fraud can be stripped. That's called denaturalization. And if it happens to her, her congressional seat disappears with it. To taxpayers, to working families, to anyone who played by the rules, this matters enormously. The story broke wide open today. The DOJ's own Assistant Attorney General, Harmeet Dhillon, went on record, and she did not hold back. She made clear that the legal questions surrounding Ilhan Omar's citizenship are not fringe internet theories. They are being taken seriously at the highest levels of federal law enforcement. She cited the exact legal principles that apply: marriage fraud, false statements to the federal government, procurement of citizenship by concealment or misrepresentation. Real statutes, real consequences. That is a DOJ official on camera citing federal statutes that apply directly to Omar's case. She's not a blogger. She's not a talk radio host. She is sitting inside the Department of Justice right now, and she's saying fraud in the naturalization process is grounds for denaturalization. Full stop. Let's be precise about what that means. Under 18 U.S.C. 1001, false statements to the federal government are a federal crime. Under 8 U.S.C. 1451, citizenship obtained through concealment or misrepresentation can be revoked entirely. And here's the part that will shock you. If her citizenship is revoked, any citizenship her children derive from hers becomes legally void as well. That is not speculation. That is the statute. Now let's get into the marriage that may bring this entire house down. In 2009, Ilhan Omar, already a naturalized U.S. citizen, officially married a man named Ahmed Nursaid Elmi. Not a religious ceremony, a legal government-registered marriage. They were apparently not living together. The marriage lasted roughly 18 months. During that time, she was reportedly still involved with her first partner, with whom she later had a third child, while married to someone else. And then Elmi quietly left the country. Some allege he returned to the United Kingdom. Others say he's now in South Africa. The whole thing happened fast, quietly, and without explanation.
I have to point out Ilhan Omar. She repulses me, and I'm trying to find out why, because she's not unattractive. She has an unusual amount and kind of anger. Mm-hmm. She has no right to that level of rage in the United States of America, the country who gave her corrupt ass a new life. It's not like she's a homeless Vietnam vet who can't get services and should be enraged at the government. She should be kissing the ground she walks on instead of spitting on it. And her anger is also reminds me of the radical who, given power, would destroy you. She would show no mercy for you if you were below her. Like, the look on her face is somebody who would step on your neck instead of giving you a hand. And that is not the kind of person we should have in our leadership. It's not the type of person we should have in this country. Mm-hmm. And if we find out that she screwed up on her immigration stuff, she's got to go.
Yeah, she should be thanking President Trump for finding fraud.
If that marriage was not real, if it existed on paper to help a foreign national gain status in this country, that is federal marriage fraud. And that fraud, committed using citizenship she had already been granted, is specifically listed as grounds for denaturalization under U.S. law. She could be stripped of her citizenship not because of what she thought, but because of what she allegedly did. The investigators don't even need to prove the brother theory. They don't need to resolve every rumor on the internet. They just need to prove the marriage wasn't legitimate. That's the lane they're driving in. The second angle is her father. His name was Nur Omar Mohammed. He was, by multiple accounts, a colonel in Somalia's military under the Siad Barre regime, a regime responsible for what many historians describe as a genocide against the Isaaq clan in the late 1980s. Under U.S. immigration law, any person who participated in persecution, war crimes, or crimes against humanity is barred from receiving asylum or permanent residency. If he concealed that history when he applied for citizenship, and if Omar's citizenship was granted as a derivative of his, then the legal argument is that her naturalization was built on a fraudulent foundation. Take a look at what some people close to this investigation are saying about the documentation that may already exist. That's the kind of evidence that makes lawyers sit up straight. If that document is what it's alleged to be, it goes directly to the marriage fraud case, and it connects to the broader argument that this was not a legitimate immigration story. It was a system being gamed by someone who had already been given everything this country offers. And the anger that comes with that realization is something Greg Gutfeld, not exactly a legal analyst, but someone who speaks plainly, put into words that a lot of Americans have been feeling for a long time.
You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
That's not just frustration. That's a diagnosis. There is a specific kind of contempt that comes from someone who received generosity and responded with resentment. America opened its doors, she walked through. And then she spent her career spitting on the people who held those doors open. While she was doing that publicly, she was also, allegedly, enriching people around her privately. Her current husband, Tim Minot, was her campaign manager. His firm received $878,000 between 2018 and 2020 from her campaign. Then, in the 2020 cycle alone, that number jumped to nearly $3 million. She married him the same year the massive Feeding Our Future fraud scandal, a $250 million scheme defrauding American taxpayers, started coming into focus in her district. This isn't just about one woman's immigration paperwork. This is about a pattern. Donald Trump has been watching Minnesota. He named it specifically. He called it Ground Zero. And at the State of the Union, he looked directly at the people in that chamber and said what millions of Americans have been saying in their living rooms. The moment that set everything off started with this. That is the President of the United States telling Congress on national television that they should be ashamed. And he is right. Sanctuary cities have shielded violent criminals from deportation. Public officials in blue cities have actively obstructed federal law enforcement. And the people paying the price for that are not politicians in Washington. They are the working families in those cities who have no security detail, no congressional office, no taxpayer-funded travel budget. They are on their own. And then Trump made it official.
And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save